Hey, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in the world of confusion and lies. Guys, it's Friday. I hardly ever have any fun. It's just so serious when it comes to this podcast because I do believe we are in a time and place where America is just on the brink. And I mean that. I hate that I mean that, but I mean that. And I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt. I just don't have it in me. You know, I was never as, I think I've always been passionate on radio. But I've never been as frustrated and passionate as I am now because I really don't want to lose this country. And I know people say every election cycle, we're going to lose this country. Well, I really feel like we're there. I know there's plenty of people, even in the conservative movement, that would disagree with me, but I just don't see how you continue with what the left has been doing with the revisionist history, with the racism, destroying the economy, the weaponization of the DOJ. I don't see how you continue with the type of division that we've seen in this country, and this country just maintain the way that it has over time. We just know that's not the case. Anyway, now I'm getting depressing, so let me get back on a good note here. Guys, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. We're on Apple, we're on Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble are just some of the places where you can find us. If you check us out on YouTube and Rumble, if you'd like to see the video as well, would you guys please take the time to review the videos? Would you share it? Would you like it? We would like to move up the charts. We would like to be heard and seen by more people. Not for a pat on the back, but I believe that I am one of the voices out there that wholeheartedly are fighting for this country to be restored, to be rebuilt, if you will, in the image in which it was created and the image in which God created, if you will. And so I would certainly appreciate that. Also, you can find me on all things social media at The Carl Jackson Show. I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, True Social, Getter, Facebook, wherever I am on social media, The Carl Jackson Show. And don't forget, no sponsors, no show. MyPillow.com. We just got to be honest with you guys. If you're going to buy products anyway that are available on MyPillow.com, would you please go to MyPillow.com and click on the radio podcast square and enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, again, C-A-R-L, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. They've got Giza Dream Sheets on sale. They've got the MyPillow 2.0. They've got mattress toppers, comforters, they've got robes, they've got towels, you name it, MyPillow.com, but particularly the MyPillow 2.0, you're going to love that. I absolutely love mine. I love their towels as well. So there's so many great products, and they're American made, American manufacturing. MyPillow.com, promo code Carl. Okay, guys, so there's a historian that's had a perfect record of predicting presidential elections for 40 years now. And so I want to go over just quickly some of the things that he uses, the 13 key elements that he uses as predictors of elections as he gets ready to predict for 2024. He has not predicted yet. Let me make that clear. He will predict in August of this year. However, he says, based on the predictors, based upon what's happened now, thus far, it looks like Biden, believe it or not, would actually win the election. But enough of the elements have not occurred yet where he can make a prediction. So he said he believes that will happen. I think that's after the conventions, and he'll be able to make a prediction by then. And he leaves. He promises. He said the reason why he's been so accurate over the last 40 years is he leaves his emotions out of it completely. He works with a mathematician, geophysicist, mathematician by the name of Vladimir Keles-Boruk, and so a Russian mathematical geophysicist. All right. So anyway, so they just leave their emotions out of it, and they just go based upon stats and based upon these 13 key elements. And so we'll go over those real quickly here. I do want to bring you some news, some of the news that's occurring today. Popping off, if you would, if I could now pull it up on my laptop. And by the way, I've done a separate podcast, and we recorded a couple a day. They're both going to go out today. I would encourage you to listen to my podcast with Alex Sawyer. It's kind of hard to say. Yeah, I'm so used to saying, well, not used to saying Sawyer, but Sawyer comes to mind when I say her name, but it's Sawyer. But I hope you check out that podcast, and that'll be up as well as this one today. But she goes over with me, the Supreme Court case, the Colorado Supreme Court case, the Trump versus Anderson case, where Colorado State is trying to keep Trump off the ballot. She was there at the Supreme Court taking notes and listening to the oral argument. So it's fascinating to hear her take. So make sure you check out that podcast. She also weighs in on special counsel Robert Hur's report that basically said, yeah, Biden is corrupt, but he's a sympathetic figure and his memory is shot. So we're not going to prosecute him. So you'll want to hear her take on that as well. So make sure you check out that podcast. That'll be up today as well. But let's get to this real quick. A couple of items in the news that I do want to talk about. First off, I've already mentioned one of them, and that's President Biden was deemed too old to be charged with mishandling documents. What the special counsel said, Robert Hur, was he, quote, uncovered evidence that President Biden willfully, that's a very important word, strong word, retained and disclosed classified information after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. All right. But that does not establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. All right. So basically what he said is Biden stole and he gave away classified documents when he wasn't a government official, but he's too old and senile to prosecute, and the jury would be sympathetic. I don't know if that should play a role in criminal cases. Certainly, I'm sure that goes into it. A lot of people pull on heartstrings. I get it. But he said that, listen, a jury would see him, and I'll just read it, his quote. We have also considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury as he did during our interview of him as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. And this sent the nation in shockwaves. That's why Biden had to come out and do a presser last night, which also didn't go well for him. He said it would be a special counsel Robert Hur. It would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him, by then a former president, well into his 80s, of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. Something that I found interesting. This was a curious line. By then a former president, well into his 80s. It just made my mind wonder, are they trying to get this fool out? Do they want, is even this special prosecutor, is he like warning the Democrat Party, we may want to get this fool out right now, right away? Why would you add all of that additional information beyond just the scope of the case itself? All right. Number two, the Supreme Court prepares to reinstate Trump to 2024 ballots in Colorado. If you listen to my podcast with Alex Sawyer, obviously, the Supreme Court hasn't ruled. They heard the oral arguments yesterday, but I think it is incumbent upon them to rule on the Trump versus Anderson case immediately. All right. She talks about that as well, but it does look, based upon the oral arguments, it looks like that this thing could go 8-1, possibly 9-0, all in favor of Donald Trump. But more likely 8-1, with Sonia Sotomayor possibly being the only vote that doesn't go that way. But we'll wait and see. They haven't ruled yet. Who knows? I can be surprised. All right. Another story I think is very, very important. Hawaii Supreme Court throws out the Second Amendment, claiming the spirit of aloha is above the U.S. Constitution. I hope there's not another attack at Pearl Harbor. All right. Hawaii Supreme Court refused to follow U.S. Supreme Court precedent on gun rights in an opinion released on Wednesday, declaring that the, quote, the spirit of aloha clashes, close quote, with the Second Amendment, which guarantees Americans an individual right to bear arms. So the spirit of aloha clashes with making sure there isn't a tyrannical government to kill the spirit of aloha, or to be able to defend yourself. It makes no sense. But Hawaii, we know this. Very nice, sweet people. But I think sometimes their gullibility and naivete that seems to be prominent on that island allows for crazy things to happen. Hence the Maui wildfires. All right. And I'm not trying to throw that in their faces, but I'm just saying you have really nice, sweet people in as a result of that, in this spirit of aloha argument, you have predators out there in governments that will take advantage of that. Another story, Democratic Senator Chris Murphy admits illegal immigrants are the, quote, people we care about most, close quote. So he said the quiet part out loud. RNC Research offered this story on Next. So Senator Chris Murphy admits their fake border push is about the ability to try to rescue the undocumented, the illegal aliens that desperately need help and keeping immigration pathways alive. Let's use his words. The undocumented Americans that desperately need help and keeping immigration pathways alive. So he admits that there will be no closed border. He admitted that all along. So his concern is not American citizens, but are the illegal aliens. All right. Here's another story. And honestly, there's a few here that I think are very important, at least worth mentioning. Let me just mention the headlines, but I want to go back to this other story. Israel confirms 31 hostages have died in Gaza. There are still apparently, I think over Israel has said 136 hostages are still being held in Gaza. Man, 5 Marines were confirmed dead in that helicopter crash in California, if you were wondering about that. It's so weird. Those helicopter crashes seem to happen far too frequently when it comes to the military. Not sure what's going on there. And then the Massachusetts governor nominates former paramour or mistress to the Supreme Judicial Court. Unbelievable, but this is the left, so I should not be surprised. All right, so the last story that I want to touch on before I go to these predictions real quick, and man, do I have to speed this along because I got to go. I am going to be recording for SNC tonight. New polling says Democrats are losing support amongst Black and Hispanic voters. So this from National Review, the Democratic Party's advantage over Republicans with Black and Hispanic adults shrank by nearly 20 points. That is huge. Over the last 3 years, this according to a new Gallup poll. The poll found the difference between the share of Black adults who identify as Democrat or lean Democratic versus the share that identifies as Republican or lean Republican decreased from 66% in 2020 to 47% in 2023. That is the lowest level recorded since Gallup began tracking that number. Now, the question is, will they vote Republican, or is this basically an election of attrition, meaning will the Democrats just lose voters? Will Blacks and Latinos stay home? I would suspect that if anyone would vote Republican, it would more likely be Latinos, not necessarily Blacks. But we will have to wait and see. All right, now getting on to this prediction. The historian, here's the summary from Daily Wire. A historian with the perfect record of predicting the results of American presidential elections for 40 years has stated that despite the polls, President Biden still has a lead over former President Donald Trump, but caution, he won't make a prediction, like I said earlier, until August. So it's American University professor Alan Lichtman, who has a perfect record of predicting every election since 1984. He created, along with Russian mathematical geophysicist Vladimir Kailis-Borak, a prediction model of 13 keys, which they published in a 1981 paper, later expanding the number of keys to 13. And he says, and I quote, a lot of things would have to go wrong for the election keys to go against Biden. But he says they could. He says, I am very careful in not making a prediction. All right. He said that Biden currently leads Trump in 5 of the keys, while Trump leads in 3, with the rest to be undecided. So keep in mind, there are 13 keys. Currently, Biden leads in 5 of those keys. Trump leads in 3 of those keys, which I will go over really quickly. And there are 5 keys that are up for grabs that he believes will be determined by August. Number 1, midterm gains after the midterm elections. The incumbent party holds more seats in House than after the previous midterm elections. Now, the GOP won, albeit narrowly. They won the House in 2022. Yes, we looked at that election and we're like, oh my God, it was abysmal. We lost the Senate, but we won the House. But the numbers, we have a slim majority, an even slimmer majority now that former Speaker Kevin McCarthy has been ousted and George Santos has been kicked out of Congress as well. But That's number one. Trump leads there, right? That's one of the keys in which Trump has the advantage because the GOP now currently run the House. But I got to tell you, I do believe this election is different, just like 2020. All types of factors as a result of the COVID lockdowns. And unfortunately, the CARES Act that I think Trump was duped in to basically signing during the COVID lockdowns, that has made a lot of things different. So we'll have to wait and see. Number two, no primary contest. There's no serious contest. This is one of the key predictors. There's no serious contest for the incumbent party nomination. Biden holds the key over Trump there, even though Trump is running away in the primary, defeating all of the candidates, including Governor DeSantis, bowing out after Iowa. Nikki Haley is still in it, but she just lost Nevada. She wasn't even part of the caucuses. Basically, Trump nearly getting close to 100%. The last totals I saw, he was like 98% of the vote there. With the guy Blinken just over 1% or about 1%. All right. So, but Trump has had primary contest challengers, whereas Joe Biden has RFK and he has Marianne Wilson out there, but thus far, they don't seem to be posing a serious threat to him. But we'll have to wait and see what happens during the election. This could be a little different as well. Number three, incumbent seeking re-election. All right, so the incumbent president the elections always favor the incumbent president. But Joe Biden is a disaster. We'll have to wait and see. We're talking Jimmy Carter type disaster. Number four, no third party. There is no significant third party or independent campaign. So RFK is out there, and I think he's polling pretty good. But obviously the left is doing all they can to squash him on social media and otherwise. So he's having to run sort of an unconventional campaign. But if his numbers stay solid and grow, that can definitely hurt. I think it'll hurt Trump some, but at first I thought it would hurt Trump more. But as Biden continues in his presidency, I think it hurts him more. Number five, strong short-term economy. The economy is not in recession during the election campaign. Listen, guys, we've already been in a recession under Joe Biden, and inflation absolutely stinks, but the media hasn't been reporting it. So you have people like me or you and I that listen to podcasts, that listen to radio, conservative talk radio. We stay up on this stuff. We know that we're suffering from inflation and all this kind of stuff. Other people may not be as concerned about it. The left has been going out of their way to avoid talking about the economy and making the issue about, the election about race and democracy, trying to make moral arguments because they can't run on their public record. So that's we have to see the strong short-term economy. Again, the economy is not in a recession. Even if it were to go into recession, do you think the mainstream media would report it? Do you think the big tech giants would share it? No, they wouldn't. All right. So anyway, but that one is up for grabs. Number 4 and 5 are up for grabs. No third party, and then strong short-term economy. So those could flip where people think differently by August, where he'll make a prediction. Number 6, Biden leads here. Strong long-term economy. Real per capita economic growth during the term equals or exceeds mean growth during the previous 2 terms. So Biden can make the argument, even though there was a good jobs report number, even though the numbers weren't the best of jobs, the numbers were high. I believe over 300,000 jobs. Biden can say, listen, we are creating a great economy where we're creating jobs. They're not creating jobs. People are still returning from layoffs, from lockdowns, but a lot of people won't look at it that way. Number 7, here's another place where Biden leads. Major policy change. The incumbent administration affects major changes in national policy. He's done that. He's done that with oil, right? That's why things are so expensive. Biden has made major policy changes when it comes to oil. He's made major policy changes on the border. And I don't care what anyone says. I know Republicans are like, oh, we're going to send all these people back. We're going to mass deport. No, they're not. No, they're not. As soon as the cameras and microphones are in their face and you have a sad woman and child sitting on the road, are you going to deport this person? I guarantee you there are going to be so many Republicans that go weak knee. I'm just bracing you guys. I'm bracing you guys. I want mass deportation. Let me make that emphatically clear. I do not believe the Republicans have the courage to do it. I hope that I'm wrong. I think that there'll be a lot of Republicans fighting Trump tooth and nail if he does get in to stop a lot of mass deportation. And remember, Paul Ryan introduced a amnesty bill that Trump was willing to sign in 2018. All right. So he got tougher on the border his last couple of years. But man, he almost signed an amnesty deal back in 2018. So keep that in mind. I hope Trump stays strong to this. His voters, if he does win, they are going to expect it of him. I certainly will. All right. So another thing, no social unrest. There's no sustained social unrest during the term. So I suspect we won't see BLM and Antifa riots during this cycle, but that one is up for grabs. That's number 8. Number 9, no scandal. The incumbent administration is untainted by major scandal. Listen, I think this ends up, it's neutral, but I think it ends up going in Trump's favor. All right, because of the special counsel's report last night. I mean, people knowing, we all knew it, but now Democrats can't hide it. Everybody sees it, but now that it's being confirmed and they have to talk about this, all right? You know, they may be wanting to search for a new candidate. You know, I know people are saying Michelle Obama. I don't think she'll do it, but you got Gavin Newsom out there. You know, he'd be itching to do it. But I think this report was huge. They're trying to sweep the criminal element of that report under the rug. We won't let them do it here. But nonetheless, it's said and done. And they're trying to keep Trump's trials out there. All right. So that may be one. Right now, it's neutral. But I think we just saw a scandal for Biden. Number 10, no foreign military failure. The incumbent administration suffers no major failure in foreign or military affairs. This one remains neutral, even though we've seen the disaster of Afghanistan. We've seen Russia-Ukraine war. We've seen the attack by Hamas on Israel. We've seen the Houthi rebels attack our, cargo vessels and kill 3 American soldiers a couple of weeks ago now in Jordan. But leading up to the election, will it look as if he's a competent commander in chief? All right, we'll see. So 9 and 10 are neutral. Number 11, this goes to Trump. A major foreign military success. All right, the incumbent administration achieves a major success in foreign or military affairs. You can point to Trump's success in military affairs. The world was a lot calmer when he was in office, so he gets the nod there. Number 12, charismatic incumbent. The incumbent party candidate is charismatic or a national hero. Now, you may not like Trump, but nobody can deny that he is not that he isn't charismatic, especially to the Tales from the Crypt guy in the White House now. All right, so that goes to Trump, 11 and 12. Number 13, last one, uncharismatic challenger. The challenging party candidate is not charismatic or a national hero. All right, that's Biden. All right, that doesn't bode well for Biden. So anyway, Trump favors on 3 right now, Biden on 5. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Again, several keys are still neutral, but they should be decided by August. Guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. I hope you have a great Super Bowl or enjoy the Super Bowl or just at least enjoy your day. God bless you. I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.